Hey, it's Ryan with QLZ doing an evening edition. You probably hear this in the morning, but we're doing an evening edition of the Green Room, a special edition because we've got Joel from Inimical Drive on. And Joel, we'll see you on Saturday, dude.
Hey, yeah, looking forward to it. Can't wait.
It's you guys, Wise Mary Fivefold, our St. Louis Rock Takeover show. We've been talking about this since March. It's finally here. Have you guys played in Springfield before? You and I bullshitted for a while, and I called you a couple of months ago, and we talked for a while on the phone. But have you guys played in Springfield?
Not in Springfield. No,
Okay.
No, we've been all over Illinois and across many years, but haven't stopped actually in Springfield. So very much looking forward to it. And we were talking earlier, I mentioned that St. Louisans apparently don't find it too far. We got some St. Louis travelers that are coming out Saturday. So we've gotten a bunch of messages. So you guys have done a great job promoting. I think it's going to be a good night.
We've been talking about it for a while because I know people here have talked about, like, when are we going to get some more shows in Springfield? And I said my big personal goal on the station for 2024 was to get more shows on. I'd love doing things like our Spotlight, the Triple Shot that have you guys on, the Saturday night new on Q that we have, the new music show, getting new bands featured, you guys featured being, an hour and 20 minutes down the road. It's good to hear people from the Lure coming up because, again, it's like I said, I've been down to St. Louis, I think, like 5 times since I moved back here.
Yeah.
It's not a bad drive. You guys have like 50,000 venues, and it's not that bad at all. But if you want tickets, WQLZ.com. Again, doors at 6, show at 7. And like you said, people are bringing their families because it's all ages. So is this something normal for you guys where people are bringing out their kids and bringing the families to come see you guys play?
It is, man. It is. We got some young rockers that have been with us since just old enough to put on some headphones and come into the venue. So man, it's always been a family. It's always been a family affair. We're a little bit older, so that's not new to us. My kids are grown, and they all grew up in the rock scene. So it's awesome, man, to see that younger generation like still into it. So
you mentioned you've got kids now, they're older. What are some of the bands you've passed along to them? Like, I didn't have this question for you going in, but this is why I'm glad when you just kind of bullshit with people when they come on, this kind of stuff comes up. So, like, what are some of the bands you've passed along to them that they've really gotten into and really enjoyed?
One in particular, my son, that I was like, oh, look at you. Okay. Told me. So my son kind of grew up in the rap and trap music and stuff, when he was younger and that. And so as he kind of has adapted into other things, he brought up that, his gym playlist, and I was like, oh, what's on the gym playlist? Of Mice and Men. And I was like, oh, okay, let's go. All right, now we're talking. And I was like, okay, all right, we'll get you all the way on this side here. So no, we've always been a music family of a wide array of things. I took that one and was like, oh, okay, all right. It's never been all the way Dad's music, but I said, oh, okay, all right. Well, I'll let Tino know that he's made the playlist on the gym playlist.
That's awesome. Are they playing music too, or no? Have they gotten into it at all?
Both musicians, both very talented. Aiden, my son, actually writes and produces and creates a lot of like the ambient and trap music and different beats and things like that. Does a lot of remixing stuff now that's kind of crossed over some genres. So talented kid for sure.
That's awesome. That's cool. I'm glad you passed it along to them. And I don't want to try to throw any grandkids out your way. I don't know if they're old enough for that, but if they ever have,
I'll kill you both.
All right.
Not yet. Not yet.
If they've got kids, you have grandkids, you have to pass along to the grandkids as well.
That's right.
Everything going awesome. Yeah. Well, Victim, the track that we featured, we had you guys on the Triple Shot. You guys, Wise Mary, Fivefold. We're getting our audience, trying to get them a little bit more familiar with you guys and you guys being here on Saturday. Again, the show is only a couple of days away. We should hopefully, it's like you guys, you've been dealing with the 90, 95 degree heat. It shouldn't be that hot on Saturday. It should be a little bit cooler than that. Victims, the track you guys have out right now. Stations across the country are playing this. This isn't just something like, hey, we're playing this song because you guys are here. We're playing it because of that, and it's a good song, but stations across, the U.S. are playing this track as well. And anytime we have somebody come on, new single, what do you want people to know about this track, Joel? Anything, whether you want to share inspiration, meaning, how it came together, just whatever you feel like sharing about this track.
Sure. Yeah, it's it's the new era of Inimical Drive. So, we've been doing this for a little while, and I think the biggest takeaway is that, every step we're trying to evolve a little bit, bring in a few new elements, and it's never been this is what we do and this is what we expect to do. It's always we love being in the studio and the creative process. And every time that we get to work with somebody new, you bring in new elements, right? So our previous EP, From Solitude, we went in from scratch, wrote the entire record in the studio with producer, multiple people, and it was an amazing experience. That record tended to lean a little more on the rock side because that was that was just the energy of the room, and it was the producer had never really even heard of us or worked with us before. This was what we felt was really the perfect marriage of what was previous to that and what the future looks like. We've worked with we've got 4 or 5 different demos currently that we're working for the rest of the EP. But when we got the opportunity to work with DL from Bad Wolves, we didn't want to put any limits on that. Obviously, like, hey, this is going to be an amazing opportunity. So we got in there, and he had already been messing with a couple of the demos that we went in with. And when we got into the studio, it was like, you know what? Let's try something from scratch. And he had already, some of those demos will end up coming back around as we continue to work with him. But writing from scratch on the spot in the studio with DL, like, took this whole new life. And so the whole song came about in the studio, and we just immediately knew it was like, oh, okay, this is exactly what we were going for. While the writing we felt got better with the last EP, kind of expanded on some things that we really loved, this brought the modern element and then still brought the radio aspect as well as the heavy feel that, some older fans might be used to. We used to be fast and heavy. So kind of brought in all of those elements, and we just really feel like this was the modern facing we wanted to show after, putting the last record out and touring off the last record. It was like we wanted to kind of modernize some of that, and we didn't want to step away from the heavier aspects. That's something that people have known us for. So it's kind of like the perfect marriage of all of that.
Yeah. You mentioned a new era. So like I always find it interesting when bands say this is a new era. I know Discrepancies, who are down by you guys as well, another band from St. Louis. They just released Takers this past week. They said this is a new era of Discrepancies. So like for you, what is it? I kind of want to leave it open-ended for you and kind of just broad, but like for you, what is a new era for you when it's like, hey, we've got this band, obviously you're writing new music. You're saying we're bringing in a lot of different elements, stuff that people, years ago are familiar with, what you last did. So for you, what does a new era mean when you're, with the band and the next step?
Yeah, I think just every time, every time that we do a record or get an opportunity to work with somebody, like I said, is an opportunity really to capitalize on what that energy brings. And so this is a new era. It's definitely a different perspective from the last record, just the approach. Some of the demos that turned into songs for the last EP were riffs and beginnings of songs that we had for years, right? And so, and in that amount of time, we've had a couple lineup changes. So every time that goes, you're bringing in new elements that are, it all goes to the same core, but there's just new elements. And we look at that as an opportunity to really kind of capitalize on what that brings. Every time you sit in a room with somebody, every time we get the opportunity to write with somebody, there's just this whole new energy. And, Bad Wolves right now, I love everything they're doing. Since DL has stepped into that band, I loved it. I was a fan well before we knew them, before we got the opportunity to tour with them. And for me personally, it was like, that's huge. I was very much into what that band was doing, very leaning on the vocal and what DL brought to it. And having that opportunity, it was like, yep, this is going to modernize things and kind of help bring that energy into something that we were very much into already. So, it kind of just is that we can't wait. Some of the demos are very exciting to know what we're sitting on. we can't wait to get back in and finish this record. It's like, this is a whole new level of energy for us.
That's
so
awesome.
That's kind of the new era, is
no, I love that. Like
racing. Can't wait to get back out and do it all again,
And I love that you said you get to work with somebody who's in a national touring band. He was in the Acacia Strain, so he's had that element of metal. Obviously, Bad Wolves, rock, hard rock, metal, all kind of everything in there. So when you guys are talking about like, hey man, we're hitting some of the heavy hitting stuff, it's the guy that can help you out with that. Where do you guys go to work with him? What studio? Did you guys?
Yeah, we actually went to his place. Yep, out on the East Coast. Yep,
awesome.
So just outside of Boston. So,
awesome.
Yeah, so it was first time taking a trip out there, and he's got a nice setup there, and he's just a master of his craft. He's really good at what he does, and the guy can do just about everything. So it's like you got no worries when you're in the hands of somebody like that. So
Do you like traveling then and then writing somewhere else, recording somewhere else? Is there something kind of refreshing to it? Is there something kind of exciting about it?
Yeah, for sure. I work best in the studio. I almost prefer less prep. Get me in a room and let's take that energy and see what happens. We kind of fell into that. We had talked previously about our EP Enemy. Started that project in Nashville. And so that was kind of our first step out of St. Louis experience. Started writing and tracking that in Nashville. Ended up coming back and finishing half of the EP in St. Louis, and then down to Cape, which is, kind of like traveling to Springfield out of St. Louis. But, every time that we would do that, it was like, it's a different focus. It's a different energy. Not that you have to travel, but it definitely does help to get your mindset in just a studio mode. And especially with the last EP, it was a nobody leave situation until this thing is done. And that was like the epitome of it for me, was like, oh, I'm just going to live here and be music 100% of my days until we're done. Let's go, So, you don't always get that opportunity. Those are the big budget records that go, lock yourself in a studio for 3 months. So, I love it. I love getting away and just having the opportunity to know that the focus is on the music wholeheartedly.
That's awesome. You mentioned a record. Are you guys going to do a full length, or what do you guys want to do moving forward? I know you obviously you're still working on stuff. You probably can't tell me when it's going to be out, but is the goal of a full length record for what's coming?
If it happens that way, but I think we're very much in the singles game still. Even some of the highest level bands before they go out to do even a short run, it's like drop a single, right? Then you got something to open with, you got something to promote, you got something to carry, but really it's finding a way to package that same record and set list and then adding something new to it. I noticed that with A Day to Remember. Just saw them in St. Louis, new single out a couple weeks before the tour drops. Boom, go out on tour. They got one song to drop in there, and then they are replaying everything that you would have seen on the last tour. And it's another opportunity to bring something fresh and exciting. We are independent, and no lie, that is not easy. So, it's really about keeping everybody's attention constantly on the socials, constantly having something to put out so that you can just keep going. Everybody's attention spans are squirrel,
I know.
So how do you keep that going? If I drop an entire record and that takes us half of our year to get together, it's over, a week as far as, and it's not, you can spread that out. But good example was the last EP. We had just signed with new management. Weren't really sure what that was going to look like. So I just said, I'm just going to drop every one of these songs as a single. We're going to put a video out. We're going to stretch this thing and promote it and just see how long it carries us. And a 5-song EP essentially carried us for 2.5 years from when we wrote it to when we were talking about new music, and several tours throughout there and a bunch of festivals and stuff. And it was like, man, just having that to where we could consistently drop singles. So I think it's a singles game for us right now. We will have another single in the summer, but riding this wave on Victim right now. We're just blown away by the response that one song has that much of an impact for us, doing that independently. And then having radio stations pick it up across the country and that. It's like, well, we're going to ride this for a little bit while we get it together and finish writing up a couple more of the tracks. And then, but we will have another single this summer and returning to work with DL. So just very excited. And like I said, sitting on some demos that we just can't wait to see what happens, when we actually get into the studio with them. So.
And like you mentioned, being independent, like there's a lot of bands, like especially doing like the Artist Spotlight, New on Q. A lot of the bands that I've chatted with since I've been here, I mean, a lot of independent, a lot that grind and everything else. And I don't think any of them really regret it. I know like Set It Off went independent last year, and they've kind of just blown up. And they're like, this is incredible. We've gone independent, and this is the most success we've ever had. So, what do you like about being independent? Again, it is a grind. It's a lot of work, and I think you can't stress that enough to people, because I don't think they realize everything that goes into it, between the production, the mixing, the recording, flying somewhere. Then, you got to be a social media expert on top of everything. I learned how to TikTok, which I'm trying to learn how to do right now.
That's
I'm not good at it.
Major part of it. Just socials is a major part of it. It's funny. It's kind of a catch-22. So a band like Set It Off, right? Where a record label is making you essentially do all of this stuff anyway, right? They might fund this and they're providing opportunities, definitely not taking away from any of that. But you have to be pulling all these levers anyway. So eventually a band like that figures out, we're already doing all of this. Then once it's rolling, we should just be doing it and reap the benefits when they come, right? So it is definitely a grind. It's a struggle. On every level. When you don't know how to do something, you got to take the time to figure out how to do this. We didn't know what came with a radio campaign and how to even approach this marketing and to keep up. We didn't have to do much. We have a great team, but we didn't have to do much. The song really is working on its own. So it was more, we got to keep up, and you got to keep up and keep giving the content and having all of these things to support that just going out there, right? You can't put it out there and then not do anything with it. So it's a lot, but we have complete control. That I guarantee anybody that is independent is going to say the payoff is that I'm in complete control of what we do. So, it's a lot, and we got to learn it. We got to do all that. But I sat in the studio with DL, and he said he has to do it all as well. He's got to do what he's looking at me like, oh, I know. I'm like, and so it's just that you got to figure it out until somebody wants to take it on, and at that point, a band like Set It Off might decide we're better off just doing this on our own, doing it independently. If you have a good team around you, then you can do that. So
it's incredible. Like, I love hearing the success stories of it, because again, like bands, and like you said, every single band I think I've ever asked, like, what they like about being independent, they're like, I have control over my music. It's mine. Like, nobody can, like, if we decide to sign with somebody else down the road, the music that we did independently, it's mine. Nobody can take that from me. So
I know I have in my possession multiple phenomenal records that will never make it to the general audience because a record label shelved it. And because we're friends with them, they go, oh yeah, no, the record's done. And I've got it. The rest of the world won't hear it. And that's it. It's more than one hand I can count, and that's just who I know, so it's, that's a scary thing. You go and you do something great, and then if you're not the top of the list or the top of the push, Now I'm all saying this on a good note, okay? Next week you call me, I'm gonna be like, why am I doing this on my own? Help me.
I'm glad I got you a good night, because we talked about, like, our servers got knocked off because of storms. You're like, dude, I'm trying to get home. St. Louis traffic is terrible, and it's storming here like crazy, and I'm trying to get home. So I'm glad that we've been able to make this a positive thing here moving forward. Sure. But again, man, I just love the stories of being independent, and again, like, I think it's important to reiterate, like if you're watching again, a 20-25 minute interview with a band, like you're going to learn a lot of stuff, and you're going to learn about why bands are independent. You're going to learn it's more than just, oh yeah, we went in and recorded some stuff, and yeah, they're going to put it out there for us. We don't have to touch anything anymore. Like you guys are super active on the socials, like very, like that. Whether it's Instagram stories, whether it's Facebook, whether it's sharing stuff, like you guys share. You guys, I'm going to throw this out there too, man. You guys sent care packages to the stations that are playing your guys' music.
Old school marketing, baby.
Yeah, man. It was awesome. Yeah. Like you guys did that. Like that's another thing that you guys are doing. And that bakery was delicious. I had a cookie at 9:30 this morning for breakfast because I left the house. I grabbed a bottle of water, and that was it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a local friend of ours. Has a pretty successful bakery, and she's just killing it. And when we got to talking about this, we actually got stuck in the airport flying out of Boston. Mm-hmm. And stuck in the airport, and DL had already bounced us like a rough mix of the song, and AirPods, headphones, all of us pacing the airport like, what did we just do? I can't believe we have this thing, right? And so excitement and energy is at an all-time high, and then every plane kept getting canceled and canceled and canceled. So we spent like 14 hours in the airport that day. God. Listen to the song, I don't know, 500,000 times, excited. But what that provided was an opportunity for us to like take off headphones and go, dude, like, what are we going to do with this? What are we like? This is definitely, we're not waiting. We're going to put this song out as a, hey, here's what's coming kind of thing. And we knew it was like, well, do we finish the record or we did? No, it was, this song has to get out. And, as we started shooting ideas back and forth, my wife in particular was like, please don't just send out a standard press release for this. Like, we got to think bigger. And that was like the first, like, you're right. We got to think bigger. What are we going to do? And so then it was like, all right, the artwork is dope. Like, what do we do with this? And what do we do? And it was like boxes, marketing boxes to all the radio stations, to everybody we know, every contact we have. We have a great network of people. Let's just put some out and see what happens. And so we took the first round and kind of shopped it around to see how people were reacting. And that was like, I'm the last one that wants to talk about myself or my band or this and that. And, I'm very introverted with my art. I do love it, and I love talking about it, but it takes something like this or somebody to engage it with me.
Ask questions about it. Yeah.
You want to talk music? I would love to, but I'm not forcing it on anybody. But the reaction was like what told us, okay, this, yes, you feel the same way. Okay, all right, we are on to something. So then it was just a collection of ideas and outpouring of like, all right, well, how do we continue to get the message out? And then the QR code thing. I'm big on the QR codes, and
they're huge. Yeah.
Take you right to it. And now I've got a link that I can update and continually, if anybody that gets those from here for the next 5 years, I can update that link and send them personal messages or, custom messages and things like that. And so, there was just this whole ball of ideas that just kind of came together. And it was like, dude, old school marketing. It still works. It happens all the time. Everybody gets marketing materials for everything. But when it's sick looking artwork and it's for music and it's got cookies and bracelets and, all these things, it's like, okay, that is not a standard press release, So,
and I'm not a guy to save onto a whole lot of boxes, but I'm like, I don't want to get rid of this box. Like, what am I going to put in it? Like, it's so nice looking. It's so nice. I mean, it's kind of like I've moved so many times. I moved into this house I'm in now like 2.5 months ago. And I'm still like, I don't want to move anymore because I got the dog is hanging out behind me. I got a fenced-in backyard for the dog. I'm paying less in rent. I have one neighbor, so I have an empty lot next to me, which is very, very nice. And I'm like, every once in a while, I'm like, man, this is a good box. Like, what if I move again? I'm like, no, just
I'll make you a bigger one. What do you got?
There we go. Yeah.
You let me know what you got to fit in the box. We'll get you a custom spec.
Oh man, I appreciate it. So again, Joe, man, you guys, Inimical Drive, Wise Married Fivefold. Going to be here this Saturday, just a couple days away. Tickets, WQLZ.com. You can buy $15. You can buy tickets the day of the show as well. If you want to wait, great. But we're trying to be like, hey, just get your tickets now. Just come on and hang out with us.
Tickets now.
Yep. Doors at 6, show at 7, all ages show. People from St. Louis are bringing the kids up with them. And Joel, I get to ask you a question I ask everybody who comes on for the first time. It used to be a blog post, but your favorite no skip records, your favorite complete albums from start to finish.
Oh man.
If you,
I'll give you a current one because it's easy to get away from doing the entire record all the way through. In the world we live in now, I just said it, we do singles, so it's easy to get away from that. But Boston Manor. Now I'm gonna have to look at the record.
Every once in a while, somebody will be like, I know the album and like the year it came out. I know the band. It's like their second album every once in a while. So this used to be a blog called Favorite Fives when I was in Wausau. It was like you actually wrote it out, gave a description, and there's a couple bands that were like, yeah, like my girlfriend wrote this because I wanted it to be like really well prepared, and my writing isn't that good. I'm like, that's dedicated. I'm like, I feel honored that you would have to do that. So but it's asking everybody their favorite no skip records. If you want to give like 3, 5, 10, the guys in Under Oath, I interviewed them, and then it just became like a 5-minute segment of them talking to each other. I just sat here. I'm like, all right, go ahead, guys.
Well, new to me, Boston Manor, Datura, Datura. I had to look that up. I knew it was something like that, but I was going to mess it up if I didn't. That record all the way through, that's a solid current modern band and record that it is excellent from start to finish. So that's just a current one for me. But gosh, man, I'll throw a curveball in. I say that Incubus, Make Yourself.
Okay, there we go.
Has always been, that one is very special to me. I'm probably going to draw a blank on anything else, but that one just came up in recent conversation, so I know that one sticks as a start to finish. Don't you touch the dial?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned. So like my bookshelf is over here. It's like mainly CDs. I told you I interviewed Brian of Fame on Fire last week, and he mentioned Scream Aim Fire by Bullet, and I'm like looking over. I'm like where is it out on this bookshelf? I know it's there, and I know Make Yourself is on there too. So I need to, when I'm done here. The last couple of interviews, people have mentioned albums. I'm like, man, I need to go back and revisit these. So like, when you guys give me the answers, I'm like, I have to go back and revisit some of them because I awesome. Forgot how much I missed some of these albums.
Yeah, that's the biggest. I love the ease and access to new music. I do. I get my music fed to me from streaming, so I get it. I'm not a hater. I love it because I get so much, and there's so much out there, and that's awesome. But man, you really do get away from listening to the entire record. Even buying, we've got vinyl in the house, and it's like you got to make a thing of like, oh no, we're going to put this entire record on tonight. So, but it was funny because I had this conversation that was like, who do you listen to an entire record? And then my buddy's like, yeah, I mean, I was like, nah, that's a no. When's the last time we all did that, And so that was one that stood out that I told them was that Boston Manor record is really good, solid listen from start to finish.
There you go. If you haven't, and it's a good band to dive into. It's a band I've played a little bit on the last couple stations I've been on, and a band that I need to dive in. I've told us about like 200 bands. I'm like, I need to dive into these bands more. I'm like, I need more time in the day. That's what I need about another 2-3 hours in the day to go back and revisit a bunch of tunes, everything. So
I'll give another modern one. It's been out for some years now, but Don Broco, Technology.
Okay,
let's go.
Is that the Manchester Super Red fan song on that one, or no?
Record before that.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I'm a Don Broco fan. I listened to it all the way through. I'm a huge, but that Technology record, for people that didn't know them, that I was friends with, or that were on the fence, that record, they're like, all right, yeah, you're right. So just really good songwriting and something, a fresh approach,
Yeah.
So
they're another band I've told myself like dive into them a little bit more, and it's been a while since I've revisited them, so I'll have to add them. I'll have to write them down. I'm just gonna write all these down and be like, I'm writing all of them down.
I'm gonna ask you then. What's your first come to mind all the way through record?
Dude, it's funny because like a few people have turned this on me, and like I think I did like 50 interviews before somebody did, and I'm like right away, and they're like, really? I'm like, I've asked this question like 50 times. So A Hybrid Theory and Meteora from Linkin Park are the two. Yeah. Slipknot, self-titled.
Yeah.
Is one. Seven Dust would be Home, Seasons.
Dude. that record.
And Cold Day.
You just took me back on that. See, now I'm like, I got to go back to that record.
I know.
Man. Yeah, I can tell you where I was and what I was doing when I first heard that. I was like, what? Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, I was a teenager of new metal, the new metal era when I was going, it was like end of middle school or going into high school when new metal became a thing. So it's just like Linkin Park blew up and Limp Bizkit and Korn and all these bands blew up. And I'm like, holy shit, like this is my music. Like, this is awesome. I was like the only dude that played any sports that listened to this stuff. Everyone else, they're like, why do you listen to this? I'm like, I don't know. It's awesome. Yeah. And now it's led me to my whole career, which is kind of crazy. So,
hey, that's so funny because, that stuff got such a cliche rap, after it blew up the way that it did. But literally, Limp Bizkit, I was like, this guy, what is this guy doing? Yeah. And that scream, I tried it and I was like, oh, I can do that. Other people can't do that. Like, wait a minute, you can't do that? I was like, oh, that's a thing. That very much led into going into a band and being like, I'm going to be one of those bands that screams and, So that was the inception of this band in the early days was all that stuff, man, the old school Korn and Limp Bizkit and all that. So,
and it's coming back.
Mudvayne.
Mudvayne. Yeah, dude, there's a bunch of bands right now that are all inspired by new metal. A bunch of them.
Yep.
And it's awesome to see.
R.I.P. Shifty Shell Shock.
I know.
Today. What? In music news. Crazy.
Yeah, I saw that while I was on the air mornings. I was like, holy shit. And I'm like, yeah.
I say crazy. It's not that crazy. That was coming.
Yeah. It was kind of, it was like, oh my gosh. It's like, well, I guess we're talking about this morning on the air and whatnot. Yeah. So, which is always sad when you see this stuff happen. But yeah, that was, Speaking of like new metal records, I
loved that record. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna be one of those haters and try and deny it now.
Dude, it was on. The song "Toxic," dude. That was another one that was on CD rotation. Whether it's going to play soccer or in track, whatever it was just like, all right, well, this one's going in now because I'm gonna skip Butterfly because it's not gonna pump me up, but the other stuff's gonna pump me up that's on here. But yeah, dude, it's wild. But yeah, another new metal band that's out there. But Joel, you guys are gonna be here Saturday. You might hear us again on Saturday afternoon on QLZ. You might hear us do some stuff depending how loaded into things for you guys go. But dude, I appreciate your time, man. Again, if everyone wants to follow you guys on the socials, website, again, you guys got more stuff coming up. I'm sure more tour dates, things like that. Where can everybody follow you guys on the socials?
All the socials, man. The TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. If you can spell and remember Inimical Drive, we're the only one that you'll find. So, you'll find us on all the socials and keep requesting it. If you're hearing it at 97.7, if you're hearing it somewhere in St. Louis, anywhere across the nation, keep requesting the song. It works. Independent bands, Wise Mary, Fivefold, all of us, independent bands. We want to hear from you. We want to know that you're listening. We answer our messages. We reply to everybody. Yeah. We appreciate all the follows and all the interactions. It's the only reason that we get to do this. So we're just extremely grateful. And to you specifically, 97.7 has spun Victim more times than anybody in the country as far as what the team is telling me. So we are just forever grateful, man, and very much looking forward to Saturday.
Awesome. Joe, dude, we appreciate it, buddy. We'll see you Saturday. Can't wait.
Sure. Thank you.